there's something no one told you about August. It wasn't just another month on the calendar. It wasn't just hot days and fading summer nights. August was a spiritual ambush, not from the world, but from the part of you that the world could never touch your soul. You didn't ask for this shift. You didn't beg for clarity. You weren't even looking for a sign, but it came anyway. Somewhere between the silence that followed a goodbye and the cold chill of realizing someone would never return, something inside you broke. But listen closely. That breaking was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to expose the part of you that was never afraid, never weak, never small. You see, Scorpio August was never meant to be gentle, because Scorpio is not born through ease. You are reborn through intensity. You evolve through endings. And this past August, it ended something inside of you, didn't it? Maybe it was a version of you that kept forgiving people who didn't deserve to stay. Maybe it was a belief that you had to prove your worth. Or maybe it was a dream you finally buried, not because it failed, but because it no longer matched who you're becoming. And now, here you are, sitting in the stillness, staring at the future like it's a door you don't know how to open. But Scorpio, this is your moment, not the moment you survived, the moment you're being defined. Because what's coming next will not ask for permission. It will not knock politely. It will enter your life like a storm, and only those who've died before will know how to stand in its eye. And you've already died once in August, so now you rise, not in revenge, not in fear, but in purpose. This isn't just the aftermath of August. This is the rebirth. This is the power shift. This is the real beginning. Are you ready to become the version of yourself that August prepared and September will unleash? Part 1. August was a sacred storm. From the outside, August looked normal. But Scorpio, we both know the truth, nothing about it was normal. Because what happened wasn't visible, it was energetic. It came quietly, not like a firework, but like smoke in a room that had no windows. It seeped into your thoughts, your emotions, your boundaries. And suddenly you were spiraling, questioning your relationships, your routines, your very identity. That, my dear Scorpio, was not chaos. That was a sacred storm. Because here's the truth. Most people don't want to say aloud, Scorpios don't transform through peace. You don't evolve through applause. You are not born again because of comfort. You are born again through collapse, through loss, through fire. That is your rite of passage. And August brought the flames. Maybe it showed up as a betrayal, a disconnection, a strange silence between you and someone you thought would never go quiet. Or maybe it showed up as an inner war, a war between the version of you that's trying to rise and the version of you that refuses to let go of the past. Whatever it looked like on the surface, this storm wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to strip you of the masks, the illusions, the false safety nets you thought you needed. There's a Scorpio I knew who said August felt like the ground beneath her just disappeared. She couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. She started questioning everything, even her faith. But 3 weeks later, she said, I realized I was shedding the parts of me that were never truly mine. That storm was sacred. It gave me back me. And that's exactly what this season is doing. It's not taking things from you. It's returning you to yourself. Scorpios are ruled by Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth. And when Pluto calls, nothing shallow survives. Everything that isn't rooted in truth is burned away. But after the burning comes clarity, stillness, power. You didn't just go through a breakdown in August. You went through a soul-level purge. Now you're standing in the ashes, but don't mourn the fire. Thank it. Because that storm, that was your initiation. Life lesson, transformation never begins with perfection. It begins with collapse. If your life felt like it was falling apart in August, it was really just falling into place for the first time. Don't run from the fire. Learn to understand it. Because Scorpios don't get destroyed by storms. They become the eye of it, Part 2. What you lost had to be lost. There's a kind of grief that only Scorpios truly understand. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand attention, it whispers, it lingers. It walks beside you in silence, asking over and over, why did I have to lose that? And here's the answer that most people aren't ready to hear, because what you lost was never meant to survive your next chapter. It wasn't punishment, it was pruning. You see, Scorpio, the universe doesn't randomly steal from you. It doesn't wake up one day and decide to wreck your life. The universe is precise, almost ruthless in its love. Because it sees what you can't, it sees who you're becoming. And sometimes who you're becoming can no longer carry who you've been. So it cuts, not to hurt you, but to free you from the weight of what you're no longer meant to hold. The friend who walked away, the lover who ghosted, the job that suddenly dissolved, the silence you never asked for but now live inside. All of it was a clearing, because your soul is calling in something bigger, and that bigger thing needs space to land. I once knew a Scorpio woman in her late 30s who thought she had it all figured out. Her partner, her business, her home. In August, it all crumbled. He left. The business collapsed. The lease expired. She told me I thought I was being erased, but now I think I was just being rewritten. What a powerful realization. What if the loss was never about losing? What if it was about making room? Room for the next version of you. The one that doesn't need external approval to feel worthy. The one that doesn't chase love that doesn't stay. The one that knows peace even in uncertainty. Here's what no one teaches. You didn't lose love. You lost attachment. You didn't lose your path. You lost the outdated GPS that was guiding you in circles. You didn't lose yourself. You lost the version of you that was built in survival. And now, you're being asked to rise in truth. Not in fear, not in resentment, but in full-bodied self-worth. Because what's coming can't meet you in your woundedness. It can only meet you in your wholeness. Life lesson. Loss isn't the opposite of gain. It's the doorway to alignment. When something leaves your life, ask, what part of me is ready to grow now that this is gone? Growth doesn't come from clinging. It comes from surrender. And the Scorpio who learns to surrender with wisdom becomes unstoppable. Part 3. The quiet phase isn't the end. It's the furnace. There's a moment after every storm when everything goes quiet, not peaceful, not resolved, just eerily still, like the universe is holding its breath. And if you're a Scorpio, you've probably felt it lately. That emptiness, that sense that something huge just passed through your life, but nothing has taken its place yet. This is the phase most people fear, because it feels like being suspended in nothingness. Your phone doesn't ring like it used to. Your emotions don't feel as sharp or as real. The urgency is gone. And now all that's left is silence. But here's what nobody tells you. This silence is sacred, because in the Scorpio journey, this isn't the end, it's the furnace, the invisible phase where your soul is being forged in the dark, far from the eyes of the world. You see, after August tore things down, this quiet isn't here to comfort you. It's here to temper you, to test you, to ask, will you panic when nothing happens? Will you reach backward just to feel familiar? Or will you trust the void, even when it has nothing to offer but patience? Scorpio is a sign of depth, not speed, and depth takes time. It's in this furnace that the real alchemy begins. Not in the chaos, but in the waiting. There's a man I knew, a Scorpio, who had just lost everything in August. A toxic business partnership fell apart. His relationship ended with a sharp goodbye. His health began to break down. And then, nothing. No miracles, no answers, just silence. At first, he thought the universe had abandoned him, but in that silence, he heard something he hadn't heard in years, his own inner voice. He told me later, I realized I'd been so busy surviving, I forgot what my soul even sounded like. That is the gift of the furnace. It removes the noise, it strips away the distractions, and in that dark quiet, you begin to remember who you really are. So if you've been feeling empty lately, not excited, not passionate, not yourself, don't rush to fix it. Sit in it, feel it, listen to what your body is telling you, because something deep is shifting, and what's forming in the shadows is stronger than anything that came before. You are not dying, you are tempering. You are becoming the version of you that can hold more truth, more power, and more peace without fear of losing it again. Life lesson. Silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. It often means everything is happening at a level too deep for the mind to track. Trust the furnace. Because the Scorpio who can sit in stillness emerges unbreakable. Part 4. A new purpose is being written in your blood. Have you felt it? That strange sensation, like something is shifting, not around you but inside you. Almost like your spirit is whispering truths that your conscious mind hasn't caught up with yet. It's subtle, but undeniable. You're not just recovering from August, you're being rewired. Scorpio, this isn't about healing from pain. This is about realignment because your soul is receiving new instructions. You may not be able to name it yet, but something ancient, something primal is awakening inside you, and it's asking a single question. Are you ready to live from your core instead of your conditioning? Here's the secret. Every Scorpio is born with a blueprint of power, but it's coded in struggle loss and emotional extremes. That's why no Scorpio reaches their destiny by avoiding pain. They reach it by transmuting it. The losses in August weren't just endings. They were activations, keys turning inside locked doors of your DNA, unsealing a mission that's been buried since birth. And now, whether you're conscious of it or not, a new purpose is being written in your blood. You may notice it through small signs. You're no longer attracted to what once excited you. Certain people feel foreign even if you've known them for years. You feel pulled towards something but can't explain what it is yet. That's how soul purpose announces itself, not with a trumpet, but with a discomfort that refuses to be ignored. I knew a Scorpio man in his 40s who'd been in the corporate world for 2 decades. He had money, status, recognition, but after a personal betrayal in August, something snapped. He quit. He walked away from the life he had built. Everyone thought he'd lost his mind, but what he told me was different. I realized I was living someone else's dream. And it took a heartbreak to finally wake me up to mine. 6 months later, he started an underground healing center for trauma survivors, something he'd never imagined doing. But it was the first time he felt alive. That is the Scorpio path. Destruction isn't the end. It's the signpost toward the deeper assignment. Your soul doesn't want you to survive. It wants you to transform. And for that, the old life had to be cleared. Now you are standing on holy ground, the space between who you were and who you were always meant to become. Life lesson. Purpose isn't found in a title, a job, or a 5-year plan. It's revealed when the noise falls away and your soul has no more reason to lie. Scorpio's greatest destiny is not to fit in. It's to awaken and lead from truth. And truth always begins where pretending ends. Part 5. Your next chapter will define you, not your past. There comes a moment always when the storm clears, the wreckage settles, and you're left standing in silence, surrounded by everything that used to be yours. And that moment is terrifying, not because you've lost something, but because now you have to decide who you will become. This is where most people stop. They freeze. They run back to what's familiar. They try to glue the past back together as if the broken pieces will ever fit again. But Scorpio, you didn't come this far just to recreate what collapsed. You came here to become undeniable. You've already lived 1,000 versions of yourself, the giver, the loyal one, the fighter, the one who held it all together. But what about the version who chooses peace over proving, who walks away from drama not in bitterness but in sovereignty, who doesn't explain their glow-up because no one deserved access to the pain that birthed it. This next chapter isn't just about healing, it's about claiming. It's about stepping into the life that your shadow self always feared, a life where you're no longer defined by what hurt you, but by how powerfully you rose from it. You see, pain isn't the only teacher. What comes after pain is the true classroom. Can you trust again? Can you lead without needing validation? Can you be seen truly without performing for acceptance? That's the new curriculum. And Scorpio, you're ready. There's a woman I once coached, a Scorpio, who had spent years stuck in a cycle of attracting unavailable people. August changed that. She experienced a betrayal so sharp, it shocked her nervous system into stillness. For weeks, she didn't leave her apartment. And then something shifted. She stopped asking why it happened to her and started asking what it was trying to birth through her. She began writing, journaling every day. And within 2 months, she published a book about emotional abandonment. It hit bestseller lists. The person who left, they never returned. But the woman who rose from that pain, she didn't need them anymore. She became her own closure. That's what this chapter offers you too. A chance to no longer be at war with your past, but to become the evidence that pain isn't the end, it's the initiation. You are not what they did, you are what you chose to become afterward. So let them talk, let them forget, let the past burn. Because what you're writing now is the story they'll never be able to erase. Life lesson. Your past is a chapter, not a definition. And no matter how dark it was, it cannot dictate the ending unless you surrender the pen. Scorpio, this is your sacred opportunity to choose truth over trauma, purpose over pain, and legacy over loops. The page is blank. And for the first time in a long time, you are the author. Part 6. Some people can't follow where you're going. It's one of the hardest parts of transformation. Not the loss, not the silence, but this, realizing that some people were only meant to walk with you up to a certain chapter, and they can't follow you past this one. Scorpio, I know how loyal you are, how deeply you attach when you love, how much you sacrifice, accommodate, protect, even when your soul is screaming that the connection is expired. But evolution demands separation, not as punishment, but as purification. When you begin rising into your power, the universe will start showing you exactly who's aligned with your highest path and who's only attached to your wounded self. It won't always be dramatic. Sometimes they just fade. Stop texting, start distancing, ghost you, gaslight you, or worse, resent your healing. Why? Because when a Scorpio stops bleeding for others, people who fed on your pain will call you cold. When you say no, they say you've changed. And they're right. You've changed. You're not bleeding anymore. You're not rescuing anymore. You're not begging anymore. You're not shrinking just to keep the peace. And some people won't survive that. There's a man I know, Scorpio rising. He had a circle of friends that felt like family, but when he stopped overgiving, when he started putting energy into his purpose, his healing, his self-worth, they turned on him. Suddenly, he was selfish, too intense, too much. But the truth was, he stopped being convenient. And when your growth makes you inconvenient, the ones who never loved your soul, only your suffering will fall away. Let them, because you can't carry dead weight into divine elevation. The people who belong in your next chapter will not require you to shrink, betray yourself, or explain your light. They will rise with you, or they will fall away. And Scorpio, I know that hurts. I know you'll miss them, but your healing is not up for debate. Your path is sacred, and sometimes walking it alone for a while is part of the contract. But don't be afraid, because in the space left behind by false connections, real soul allies begin to appear. And they don't come to drain you, they come to mirror your rebirth. Life lesson: letting go isn't always abandonment. Sometimes it's alignment. And if someone can't celebrate your healing, they were never invested in your wholeness, only your usefulness. Scorpio, stop watering dead plants. Your energy is gold. Save it for the garden that will bloom with you, not in spite of you. Part 7. A new person or path is approaching. After the storm, after the silence, after the severing, something shifts. You can feel it quietly but undeniably. Something or someone is approaching. It may come as a dream, a strange synchronicity, a phone call from someone you never expected, or a pull deep in your gut toward a new place, a new idea, a new future. Scorpio, when your soul begins preparing you for the next phase, it often starts by sending you a signpost disguised as a stranger. This person or this path may not look magical at first. In fact, it might even trigger you. You might feel confused, suspicious, even repelled. But trust this, what's approaching now is not random. It's either your next soul contract or your final karmic test. And your ability to tell the difference, that's the real initiation. Here's the trick. The one who feels instantly familiar, who says all the right things, who mirrors your pain perfectly, might not be your soulmate. They might be your mirror sent to reflect the parts of you still longing to be healed. Meanwhile, the one who challenges your comfort zone, who speaks to your potential more than your wounds, who doesn't need to rescue you, they might be the one who helps you rise. There's a Scorpio woman I once worked with who met someone right after a devastating breakup. This new person was kind, consistent, emotionally safe, but she felt bored. She told me, "It doesn't feel like fireworks." And I told her, because it's not your trauma being activated, it's your nervous system learning peace. Today they're building a life together. No chaos, no drama, just sacred growth. You see, Scorpio, you've been wired for intensity, but intensity isn't always intimacy. Sometimes it's just trauma playing dress up. So when this new person or path shows up, ask yourself, do they trigger your survival mode, or do they invite your higher self to lead? Because the universe is never cruel, but it is clever. It will keep sending you the same lesson until you choose differently. And this time, you can. You're not the same soul you were last month. You're not the same heart. You've been burned, purified, awakened. And now you have the clarity to see beyond seduction and recognize alignment. Life lesson: not everything that glows is gold, and not everything that feels safe is boring. Sometimes divine connections come in quiet packages. Sometimes your next destiny arrives not with fireworks, but with peace, truth, and a deeper invitation. Scorpio, choose with your soul this time, not your wound. Part 8. Scorpio's phoenix rises without apology. There comes a time in every Scorpio's life when the apology ends. Not because you're bitter, not because you're arrogant, but because you finally understand this one sacred truth. You never needed to apologize for surviving. You never had to explain why you disappeared, why you got quiet, why you cut them off, why you burned the bridge and didn't look back. They'll call it cold, they'll call it cruel, but they weren't there for the fire, were they? They didn't see the nights you cried in silence, the mornings you forced yourself to rise with nothing in your chest but ashes, the invisible battles you fought just to stay whole. Scorpio, let me say this clearly. You owe no one an explanation for your evolution. The phoenix doesn't apologize for the flames that gave it wings. This moment, this chapter, is not about rebuilding what was lost. It's about rising into a version of you that no longer fits the old skin. You're no longer trying to be palatable. You're not here to be understood. You're not dimming your fire to make others comfortable. You're walking in your full power. And that makes people uncomfortable. Let them squirm. Because this version of you isn't asking for permission. It's claiming. You've been through betrayal, abandonment, grief, silence. You've loved people who couldn't love you back. You've carried others while bleeding. You've been the healer, the anchor, the warrior, even when no one noticed. And now it's time to become the soul you were always meant to be. No more performing, no more shrinking, no more negotiating your magic. There's a man I once met, Scorpio moon, quiet, mysterious, always watching. He spent 15 years dimming his voice in a corporate system that never saw him. August shattered that illusion. He walked away, started his own business helping others heal from toxic workplaces. Today, he speaks on stages across the country. When I asked him what changed, he said, "I stopped trying to be liked. I started choosing to be whole." That's the phoenix. Not the prettiest, but the most untouchable. So let them misunderstand you. Let them whisper. Let them tell stories you'll never get to correct. Because your story isn't theirs to interpret. It's yours to live out loud. Unapologetically, unshakably, unforgettably. Life lesson. Power doesn't need validation, and truth doesn't seek permission. When the phoenix rises, it doesn't return to explain the fire. It simply flies higher than it ever did before. Scorpio, you are not rebuilding. You are rebirthing. Walk forward. The sky has been waiting. Conclusion. The version of you that August prepared is finally here. So here you are, Scorpio. You've walked through the fire. You've sat in the silence. You've watched people fall away. You've mourned versions of yourself that no one else even knew existed. And now something sacred is happening. You're not just healing. You're becoming, not the version you pretended to be, not the one you built to survive, but the version that was buried underneath all along. The one who doesn't settle, the one who doesn't chase, the one who remembers who they are even when no one else does. August was never a curse, it was a cosmic initiation. And now you're standing at the threshold of something that requires everything you've become and nothing you've outgrown. The apologies are done, the waiting is done, the questioning is done. From here on, it's embodiment. Embodying your truth, embodying your peace, embodying the quiet power that no storm can touch. The people who couldn't see you then, they're not meant to walk with you now, and the version of you who thought you had to prove anything, she's been laid to rest. What rises now is royalty, not the kind that needs a crown, the kind that walks in silence but shifts the room without saying a word. Because Scorpio, you were never broken. You were never lost. You were being prepared, and now you are ready. Final life lesson. Transformation isn't something you chase. It's something you surrender to. And once you rise, truly rise, you never go back to smallness. Scorpio, the version of you that August prepared, is here. Now show the world who that really is. If this message found you in the middle of your storm or your silence or your awakening, then it wasn't random. It was your soul saying, keep going. You're almost through. Subscribe to the path to Buddha wisdom and walk with those who speak your language, depth, truth, rebirth. This isn't the end, it's just your beginning.